issues, breaking down the numbers, and
expressing their views on the spate of defections of opposition politicians to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. Those who spoke to correspondent William Uchewaji in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, expressed fears that the drift to a one-party system may deny Nigerians the full benefits of a true democracy. In what many see as a growing political trend, more governors and key political figures have continued to defect to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. The last to decamp was Bayelsa State helmsman Doye Diri, following Peter Mba of ENUGU State, while Taraba State Governor Akpo Kefas is on the wings to say goodbye to the PDP. The recent defections have shifted the political landscape, tilting power heavily toward the APC, which supporters argued strengthens governance by uniting interest under one umbrella. But critics warn it could weaken opposition voices, reduce checks and balances, and edge the country closer to a one-party system and eventually stifle democratic competition and accountability. A security expert and public affairs analyst, Jackson Lekon Oju, condemned in strong terms the massive defections to APC, which he described as unfortunate and capable of taking the nation to a state of anarchy if not checked. Ojo said that democracy is not about the politically privileged few, but about the masses, saying the defections have demonstrated the level of greed and lack of respect for the party that brought such people to power.
Number one thing is because these people are not principled. The people that are decamping, they are not principled. Number two, they don't have respect for those people that has elected them into office. Number three, is the issue of corruption. Possibly the ruling party is kind of flashing at them their corrupt document. And the only way they can be forgiven whatever offense you commit, that immediately you join the APC, your sin will be forgiven.
He also decried the threat by some governors against those who fail to decamp along with them, which he said is a denial of their fundamental human rights and breach of the Constitution.
Why is it threat? If you are no longer comfortable and I'm comfortable, why not let us work together? Because the state belongs to all of us. Stick principles. And when people no longer have trust in democracy, what do you think people will do? Then people will take to self-help, and self-help will never be positive anywhere in the world.
National President, South-South Youth Initiative, and a political affairs analyst, Imiabe Victor Oscar, also warned against a drift to one-party system. He condemned the way and manner the ruling All Progressives Congress is dealing with the opposition parties in the country, saying that a true democracy thrives in opposition.
It's against the Constitution that once you are defecting from Party A to Party B, automatically the Constitution says that you will lose your position or you will lose your mandate. That is the expectation. So ordinarily, the people of Bayelsa and the legislature, if not that they have all joined hands to join the governor Doye Diri to APC, they were all supposed to work currently with the deputy governor that have refused to defect. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And that's why we say that we are not practicing a true democracy in this country. That's why I said we don't have democratic system of governance in our country. That's why we are also saying that our Nigerian constitution and our rule of law is not being respected, not just by the citizens of this country, but also by those in the principal office.
Convener of Rivers Peace Initiative, Obinna Ebogidi, also noted that the spate of defections to the ruling party runs counter to the ethics and principles of true democracy. Ebogidi called on the politicians and public office holders to be more people-oriented and purposeful in pursuing political power by allowing viable opposition to thrive.
Ordinarily, it's something that should be condemnable because we need a very vibrant opposition that should be able to put the incumbent in check. But based on this contest, then you may want to soften that rigid position. Let's see what the implication of all of this will be. But I can also tell you for free that with what we have seen based on antecedents in the country, that a governor defects to uh, another party, whether at the center or even a smaller party, due to whatever reason, doesn't always guarantee that his people and his immediate supporters will also join him.
As the 2027 elections draw nearer, political analysts say the trend underscores the need for stronger party ideology, internal democracy, and reforms that will make politics about service, not survival. Whether these defections will bring stability or further erode the democratic space remains to be seen. What is clear, however, is that Nigeria's democracy thrives best when diverse voices are allowed to compete on a level playing field. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, George Amopiton, has appealed to eligible voters in Anambra State to come out en masse to cast their ballots on Saturday's governorship election. Amopiton stated this at a press conference at the INEC headquarters in Abuja on Thursday. He said the greatest enemy of the Anambra's democracy was not just external violence, but voter apathy. Amopiton revealed a worrying historical slide in voter participation in the state. He, however, stated that the commission was determined to deliver a credible, inclusive, and transparent election in Anambra State on Saturday, November 8, 2025. Addressing concerns of vote buying ahead and during the election, he urged members of the public to provide evidence of vote buying if they experience any. Amopiton stressed INEC's zero-tolerance approach to the inducement of voters. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) on Thursday displayed materials for the Anambra State governorship elections before the media, major stakeholders and political parties. Among the items on display at the Awka branch headquarters of the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), amidst tight security, were some sensitive and non-sensitive materials, including Form EC8B. The INEC officials, led by the Supervising National Electoral Commissioner in charge of Anambra, Dr. Kenneth Ukego, were seen parking them according to local government, ready for onward distribution. The Anambra State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Elizabeth Agu, later explained the composition of the material with a checklist.
Is what you will see in your local government, and no any color will go into another local government. They are all serialized, as I have told you earlier. The serial numbers are there, the color coding are there, and everything is quite complete. And for the result sheet, we also batch them into, we customize them into units, and they are batched into RAs. So by the time you open the pattern, you see that an RA, if an RA has a 20 booklet, you see there will be only 20 units, there will be only 20 booklets, based on the category of elections. For the EC8B, that is for the RA, there are some units that are, some RAs that are more than 22. You see that it will have a continuation sheet. So depending on the number of units, that is when you will see the booklet. And all of them are being serialized according to numbers and the local government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions who are you introducing?
The Commissioner of Police in charge of Anambra State elections, Abayomi Shongole, was on ground with his retinue of officers supervising security arrangements. He restated the resolve of the police to deal with any attempt to abort the polls or commit any electoral offense by non-state actors or political players. Joining us to talk about the Anambra election is Professor Ernest Anuche of the Center for Democracy and Development and member of the West Africa Election Analysis Center. Professor, good morning and welcome to the news.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's really great to have you with us this morning. Now, as someone who is on ground right now in Awka to witness the election, what is your assessment of preparations for this election of the people of Anambra State?
Yeah, from what I saw yesterday, the preparation is on top gear. INEC is preparing, and security agencies have been moved from different parts of the country to Anambra State. According to official release, about 450,000 policemen and other members of security agencies. And then people are also, discussing in groups about the elections, and political parties also, preparing. I can see most of the hotels in the capital city are booked. So I think preparation is on top here.
All right. Thank you so much. Professor, Anambra has the record of being one of the states with the lowest turnout in elections. What do you think is responsible for this? And also, what are the likelihoods to see an improvement this time around?
In 2021, there was just about 10% voters turnout. So there is actually uh, the phenomenon of voter apathy in Anambra State. And I think what is the major factor responsible for this is the erosion of confidence in the electoral process. And after the 2023 elections, I think that erosion of confidence has even deepened more, especially in the southeast. So not, I don't think there would be likely any different this time around.
All right, then, what advice do you have for the new INEC chairman? I'm talking about Professor George Amopiton, and other stakeholders going into the elections to rebuild the confidence of Nigerians?
Is to make sure that votes count, and then to keep on, pushing the voter education, enlightening the people, voters, and you know, in terms of why it's necessary for people to vote, and also making sure that, very importantly, making sure that this time around that the votes count. You know, that's the only way to bring back the confidence in the electoral process.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Anoche, for joining us this morning on the news. We look forward to get more updates regarding the elections that will be happening on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. The Abia State government has kicked off a statewide sensitization campaign against fake substandard consumables and beverages. The sensitization campaign, with the theme "No to Fake, Yes to Quality," held in Aba, is part of an effort to safeguard the health and safety of the people of the state. Director General of the Abia State Orientation Agency, organizers of the campaign, Ure Abaize, said the initiative is designed to enlighten the public, traders and manufacturers on the dangers of fake and substandard consumables and beverages. She emphasized the need for Nigerians to imbibe the culture of quality, integrity, and consumer safety. Abia State Commissioner for Health, Professor ENUGU Uche, highlighted the dangers of fake and substandard drugs and beverages, describing anyone involved in the act of selling such items as a silent murderer. Professor ENUGU assured of the readiness of the state government in combating the menace and appealed to everyone to join the campaign against the sale of fake and substandard drugs. The event had in attendance top government officials, security agents, officials from the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, as well as traditional rulers, traders, and the youths, among others. The Senate has directed the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, and other relevant regulatory bodies to strictly enforce the ban on the packaging of high-strength alcoholic beverages in sachet formats beginning December 2025. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion sponsored by Senator Asego Ikmeyong on the need to halt further extension of the phase-out of the sachet alcoholic beverages. In his lead debate during plenary, Senator Ikmeyong reminded the Senate that NAFDAC, in line with international best practices and other extensive consultations with industry stakeholders, had announced a phased ban on the importation, manufacture, and distribution of alcohol packaged in sachets. He noted that in 2018, stakeholders including the Federal Ministry of Health, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, NAFDAC, and industry groups such as the Association of Food, Beverage and Tobacco Employers and the Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria voluntarily signed a 5-year Memorandum of Understanding for the gradual phase out of such products, citing rising health and social concerns. The lawmaker recalled that despite initial deadline, the federal government granted manufacturers an additional 1-year suspension in 2024 to enable them to exhaust existing stock and transition to compliant packaging alternatives, extending the phase-out until December 2025. However, Senator Ekpenyong expressed concern that as the deadline approaches, some manufacturers continue to lobby for another extension, a move he said undermines regulatory authorities, threatens public health, and distorts fair competition in the industry. The Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, has called on young Nigerians to actively engage in the ongoing constitutional review process, emphasizing the importance of having youth perspectives at the center of national decision-making. He made the call when the emerging political leaders follow program of the Bridge Leadership Foundation, Calabar, paid him a courtesy visit in Abuja, emphasizing that youth perspectives must be central to national decision-making. He encouraged young people to continuously improve themselves and seek knowledge to contribute meaningfully to governance.
Leadership, my young friends, is not a ceremonial title. It is the act of service, the practice of wisdom, and the courage to act in the face of uncertainty. It is tested in moments of decision, not in moments of applause. As a lawyer and a parliamentarian, I have come to understand that the power to legislate carries with it an obligation to be measured, an obligation to be principled, an obligation to be in relentless pursuit of justice. It's an obligation. And so, understanding the weight of responsibility that comes with leadership, we must now confront the reality before us that demands courage, clarity.
Founder of the Bridge Leadership Foundation, Leal Imoke, explained that the Emerging Political Leaders Fellowship Program in Calabar, now in its 4th year, is designed to prepare young people for leadership roles.
Our vision at the foundation was that as Nigeria evolves, we need leaders who are not just leaders by title. We need leaders who are groomed. We need leaders who understand what it means to be a leader at various levels. We need leaders who have been exposed to leadership, who have been exposed to what it takes to actually face challenges.
From 32 states undergo 6 months of training before making a capstone presentation to graduates. The House of Representatives has launched a fresh probe into the expenditure of intervention funds dedicated to Nigerian security architecture. The probe is informed by the persistent insecurity across the country, despite substantial budgetary allocations to the fight against insecurity. The investigation will examine how funds released since 2020 were managed by various ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs, and whether they produced measurable results in safeguarding lives and property. Speaking at the inauguration of the ad hoc committee, the Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, who was represented by the Deputy Chief Whip Ibrahim Isiaka, said the House remained committed to accountability, transparency and fiscal discipline in managing public resources, especially in the security sector. He noted that the security sector operates under intense public scrutiny, making it imperative that every naira spent delivers tangible progress in protecting Nigerians.
We recognize that the security sector operates under intense public scrutiny, and it is incumbent upon us to ensure that every naira spent yields tangible, observable progress in safeguarding lives and property across our great nation.
Chairman of the ad hoc committee, Zachariah Nyampa, said the probe will track total disbursement under various intervention heads, review utilization and procurement processes, and assess the impact of the spending. He stressed that the exercise is not a witch hunt, but a national duty to ensure that security funds are effectively used to strengthen national stability.
Our work will involve identifying the total funds disbursed under various intervention heads and special allocations. Examine how these funds are utilized by the beneficiary agency. Reviewing procurement processes and due process compliance. Assessing outcome and the actual impact of such intervention on the security situation across the country. This assignment must be pursued with objectivity, diligence, patriotism, and integrity. It is not a witch hunt, rather it is an effort to ensure that every naira allocated for national security achieves its intended purpose.
The committee will collaborate with key agencies, including the Ministry of Finance, a Budget Office, Office of the National Security Advisor, Defense and Police Authorities, anti-graft agencies, and civil society groups to guarantee transparency, cooperation, and credibility throughout the investigation. President Bola Tinubu on Thursday administered the oath of office to Dr. Bernard Doro and Dr. Kingsley Ude as ministers, officially inducting them into the Federal Executive Council. The ceremony took place inside the council chamber of the State House, Abuja, just minutes before the commencement of the FEC meeting, the first since July 2025. Thursday swearing-in restores cabinet representation for Plateau and Enugu states, both of which had been without ministerial presence in the past few weeks. Their swearing-in brings Tinubu's cabinet size to 48 ministers. President Bola Tinubu has pledged his administration's resolve to deepen global engagement and intensify the fight against terrorism and criminality. The president spoke shortly after an economic briefing by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, who reported during the Federal Executive Council meeting on Thursday that the administration's reform agenda continues to stimulate investor confidence and deliver notable economic gains. The president said the government remains firmly committed to moving the country forward under the renewed hope agenda, despite prevailing political and security pressures.
The most important thing is the fact that despite the political headwind and the fear of our people, we continue to engage with our partners. The success of the 2.3 billion bond, subscription, oversubscribed, is the most at this stage. So the task ahead is immense. We are engaging the world diplomatically, and we assure all of you that we will, defeat terrorism in this country. The task ahead is immense, but it's our resolve to move forward with unity and purpose, guided by renewed hope agenda to build a prosperous, inclusive, and resilient Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Tinubu's comments came in the wake of U.S. President Donald Trump's threat last week to send U.S. forces into Nigeria with guns ablazing if Africa's most populous country does not stem what he described as a killing of Christians by Islamists. Before the meeting went into a closed session, the coordinating Minister of the Economy and Minister of Finance, Wale Edu, informed the Council that Nigeria's return to the international capital market had drawn strong investor confidence, with a $2.35 billion Eurobond oversubscribed by 453%, attracting $13 billion in orders. He stressed the need to mobilize greater domestic and foreign investment to achieve the administration's target of $1 trillion economy by 2030, noting that growth must reach 7% annually by 2027. Edu said the next phase of reforms would focus on removing investment bottlenecks, reviewing tariffs and import restrictions, strengthening fiscal reporting, and optimizing asset management. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, announced the passing of a former minister and senator, Solomon Iwuga, describing him as an accomplished leader dedicated to national development. Iwuga served as Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State in 1999 before becoming Minister of State for the Federal Capital Territory and later represented Nasarawa North in the Senate. He died on September 23 in Egypt at age 70. Still to come, Northern Hausa Christians write Tinubu Fagbemi alleging persecution denial of appointments. Governor Mba Abiodun and others visit Fugbara as presidential committee tours police college facilities in Rivers. Details of these and more after the break.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Arewa Christians and Indigenous Pastors Association (ACIPA) has claimed that despite government denial of persecution and systematic genocide against Christians, there are evidence that Northern and Hausa Christians in particular have been and are still denied rights of employment, scholarships and appointments. The pastor said this in an open letter to President Bola Tinubu and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi San. The ACIPA in its letter said that despite the government's denial of genocide against Christians, there is still a systematic support of persecution against them in the north. The group alleged what it described as an outright persecution against a Christian from the northeast who came first, scoring 83% in the recently concluded interview for the appointment of permanent secretaries, but are aware of the ongoing process to swear in a man who finished fifth as the permanent secretary instead of the qualified Christian. ACIPA said it was calling on all advocates against persecution and travesty to rise to the occasion and call authorities to order against the persecution of Christians in the north. The Presidential Committee on the Evaluation of Facilities and National Security Training Centers across Nigeria has arrived in Rivers State to inspect the institution in the state. The committee, led by the governor of ENUGU State, Peter Mba, paid a courtesy visit to the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, at the Government House, Port Harcourt, before proceeding to the inspection tour. Other members of the delegation include the governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, former Inspector General of Police, Usman Akali Abba, and an Assistant Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Desu. Governor Fubara accompanied the committee on a road trip to Tai local government area where the police training college is situated for an on-the-spot assessment of the facility. The Osun State chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and the state government have clashed over claims that Governor Ademola Adeleke is making moves to join the African Democratic Congress, ADC, ahead of the 2026 governorship election. In a statement on Thursday, the APC accused Governor Adeleke of begging and fraternizing with the ADC leadership led by former Governor Rauf Aregbesola, allegedly in search of a platform to contest his re-election. The statement signed by the Osun APC chairman Tajuddin Lawal described the alleged move as a sign of desperation and lack of honor. Lawal added that it exposed the internal crisis within the People's Democratic Party (PDP) at the national level. According to APC, Adeleke's alleged attempt to reach out to Aregbesola followed the PDP's entanglement in legal and leadership disputes that might affect its documentation with the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). The statement also accused Adeleke's administration of failing to fulfill campaign promises, including job creation and affordable education, despite earning significant revenue since assuming office. However, the Osun State government, in a statement issued on Thursday by Olawale Rashid, spokesperson to the governor, swiftly dismissed the APC's claims, describing them as false, baseless, and fabricated. He insisted that he had no plans to defect to ADC or negotiate with Aregbesola. He urged members of the public to disregard the allegation, describing it as fake news from the pit of hell, and reaffirmed that Governor Adeleke remained committed to PDP. Taraba State Chapter of the All Progressives Congress has refuted claims that it imposed conditions on Governor Akpo Kefas before his planned defection from the People's Democratic Party. The APC state spokesperson Aaron Atmas, while briefing journalists in Jalingo, said that the governor's decision to join the party was entirely voluntary and unconditional, primarily aimed at fostering unity among political stakeholders and driving development in Taraba State. Atmas also described the governor's recent meetings with the key APC members as a step to clear misconceptions and rumors surrounding his defection. An official ceremony to formally welcome Governor Kefas into the APC, as made known by the party, is expected in the coming weeks. Atmas further claimed that there is currently no active opposition in the state, as major APC stakeholders have endorsed the governor's entry. The detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has written to United States President Donald Trump, urging him to initiate an independent investigation into what he described as the killings of Christians and Igbo people in the southeast region of the country. In a letter dated November 6, 2025, and transmitted through his lawyer, Aloy Ijimako, to the U.S. Embassy in Abuja, Kanu, who is in custody of the Department of State Services, appealed to Trump to act on his recent statement that the United States was prepared to act military and cut aid if Nigeria fails to protect its Christian population. According to the letter, Kanu called on Trump to launch a U.S.-led independent inquiry into the situation of Judeo-Christians in eastern Nigeria, with full access to relevant evidence and survivor testimonies. Kanu told the U.S. president that Christians in Nigeria were facing difficult circumstances and urged that international attention be given to the issue. The IPOB leader cited historical incidents and reports by international human rights groups as part of his appeal for external review. The IPOB leader also spoke about his personal experiences since 2015, including his time in detention and his ongoing legal challenges. Coming up next is business news.
The National Bureau of Statistics data reports that Nigeria's food and beverage imports rose 44.5% to 677.3 billion naira in H1 2025, up from 468.8 billion naira a year earlier. The spike, driven by weak local output and policy inconsistency, contrasts with a 1.85% drop in processed food and imports for household use. Industrial imports, however, climbed 7.3% to 1.06 trillion naira. Analysts blamed insecurity and poor agricultural support for the growing reliance on foreign products. Nigeria has secured $2.25 billion from a dual-tranche Eurobond offering that drew over $9.1 billion in bids, despite recent geopolitical tensions. The 10-year and 20-year bonds were priced at 8.75% and 9.25% yields, lower than initial guidance, reflecting investor confidence. Proceeds will fund the 2025 budget deficit and refinance a $1.1 billion maturing bond. The Debt Management Office (DMO) said the strong demand underscores renewed global appetite for Nigerian debt amid Africa's Eurobond market rebound. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria (MAN) has urged deeper collaboration across the textile and leather value chain to revive the struggling industries. MAN DG Segun Ajayi Kadi said at the sectoral annual general meeting while in Lagos that joint efforts among manufacturers, government, financiers and research bodies are vital to tackle high costs, smuggling and poor infrastructure. He called for backward integration, innovation sharing and stricter enforcement of local industry policies to boost jobs, exports and competitiveness. The federal government has launched the renewed Hope National Agricultural Mechanization Program through the Bank of Agriculture and Heifer Nigeria to boost food security and empower youth and women. Applications are open until November 10, 2025, at boanig.com. It offers access to affordable tractors, flexible lease terms, technical support, and Internet on Things-based tracking. The scheme features 3 to 5 year leases, 15% interest and 25% down payment, targeting agripreneurs aged 18 to 35 and mechanization firms. Trading on the Nigerian Exchange closed mixed on Thursday, November 6, 2025, with investors exchanging 619.6 million shares worth 16.5 billion naira in 24,854 deals. This represents a 20% rise in volume and a 3% uptick in turnover, though deals declined by 9% from the previous session. The market capitalization dipped slightly to 95.3 trillion naira, reflecting sustained profit taking across key sectors. Out of 129 traded equities, 15 gained while 39 declined. UPDC led the gainers with 9.83% share price appreciation, closing at 6 naira 59 kobo per share from an opening price at 6 naira per share, followed by FCMB Group, which surged 8% to close at 10 naira 80 kobo per share, while Omatech Ventures gained 7.44% to close at 1 naira 30 kobo per share, and ICO Insurance climbed the gainers chart, earning 5.35% to end Thursday's trading session at 3 naira 74 kobo per share. On the losing side, Legend Internet came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 9.93% at 5 naira 26 kobo per share, followed by Champion Breweries dropping 9.72% to wrap up Thursday's trading session at 14 naira 40 kobo per share from an opening price of 15 naira 95 kobo per share. Meanwhile, the benchmark Nigerian Exchange All-Share Index dropped 541.32 points to close at 150,573.87, representing a one-week loss of 0.36% and a four-week gain of 3.5% and an overall year-to-date gain of 46.29%. This is business news in Global News. Chimizi Zadima reporting for Signature TV News.
Up ahead, Cameroon swears in world's oldest president after disputed votes. Traffic halted at Swedish city Gothenburg's airport after drone sighting. Stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Cameroon's Paul Biya, the world's oldest ruler, was sworn in for an 8th term as president on Thursday following a disputed election that triggered deadly protest. In his inauguration speech, the 92-year-old pledged to restore order to the Central African nation and blamed irresponsible politicians and the diaspora for inciting unrest. Security forces killed 48 civilians during protests against Biya's re-election, according to data from the two UN sources. The government has not responded to requests for comment or given its own estimate of how many people were killed or injured during the unrest. Biya was named the winner of the election by a comfortable margin last week, with 53.66% of the vote against 35.19% for opposition leader Issa Chiroma Bakari. According to the official results, his new mandate could keep him in power until he's almost 100 years. Bolivian ex-president Jeanine Áñez was released from prison on Thursday following the Supreme Court order to end more than 4 years of preventive detention. In November 2022, Áñez found guilty of breach of duty and unconstitutional resolution for assuming the presidency irregularly on November 12, 2019, following the resignation of then-President Evo Morales. Áñez will attend the inauguration ceremony of President-elect Rodrigo Paz, scheduled for Saturday, while on Sunday she will fly to her native Trinidad, where her family, friends and supporters will await her with a celebration. France will contribute 500 million euros to the Tropical Forest Forever facility, a multilateral fund proposed by Brazil to support global conservation of endangered forests. The country's president Emmanuel Macron said on Thursday. Macron was speaking during a summit ahead of the United Nations climate talks known as COP30, which will be held in Brazil's Belém from November 10 to 21. Norway also announced it will contribute about $3 billion to the Tropical Forest Forever facility, a multilateral fund proposed by Brazil to support global conservation of endangered forests, sources told reporters on Thursday during a leaders' summit ahead of COP30. Swedish Defense Minister Paul Johnson said on Thursday that Sweden and Ukraine had signed a letter of intent on defense innovation that includes establishing a joint hub in Ukraine. At the press conference, Shimayel said Ukraine had asked Sweden to start training Ukrainian pilots on Swedish Gripen fighter jets as soon as possible. He said that Ukraine was ready to send personnel to Sweden immediately.
We just signed a letter of intent on defense innovation. One of the most important features of this is that we will establish a joint hub in Ukraine where Swedish personnel will be working on defense innovation. So Swedish personnel will be on that side in Ukraine. This will strengthen our shared ability to develop and produce new battlefield technologies.
Over here.
Since the meeting in Linköping between President Zelensky and Prime Minister Kristersson, a lot of work has been done. Ukraine earlier submitted a formal request for information, and I can confirm that Sweden sees it as possible to deliver Gripen Echo warfighter aircraft within the requested timeline that the Ukrainians have asked us for. This includes training for Ukrainian pilots and technicians.
Training of our pilots, it's naturally that they will begin train here, because all the infrastructure, all the specialists are located here in Sweden. So we ask, and we actually discuss this, we ask to begin training as early as possible. We have some professionals which we are ready to send to Sweden directly nearest time and to begin this training.
Sweden signed a long-term cooperation agreement in October with Ukraine for air defenses that includes the possibility of exporting the fourth-generation fighter jets in what will be Sweden's biggest aircraft order yet. Traffic was halted at the Gothenburg Landvetter Airport on Sweden's west coast on Thursday after one or more drones were observed at the airport. Drones have caused a major disruption across Europe in recent months, forcing temporary closures of airports in several countries. Some officials have blamed the incident on hybrid warfare by Russia. Moscow has denied any connection with the incident. A police spokesperson said police received the report of the suspected sighting at 16:41 GMT and were at the scene gathering information. The airport is Sweden's second biggest after Stockholm's Arlanda, according to airport operator Swedavia. The Federal Aviation Administration on Thursday was working to hammer out details of an unprecedented plan to cut 10% of flights at 40 high-tariff traffic U.S. airports to address safety concerns regarding air traffic controllers amid a record-setting federal government shutdown. Air travelers at Washington's Reagan National Airport expressed concern and frustration about the lingering government shutdown and its effect on air traffic controllers and TSA workers who are working without compensation.
Like the traffic controllers having to work without pay all this time, I think is just unreal. It shouldn't be, you know. And that 10%, that's going to affect people like in my industry, because I do travel a fair amount. And hopefully they can come to some agreement within this next month.
Well, I almost canceled my trip because I was like, I don't even know what's going to happen. And then I just decided, all right, we're just going to go for it and see what happens. But yeah, it's just all unexpected. I'm just sick of it. It's like, what about us?
I'm okay flying out today. I'm supposed to come back on Monday, and I'm a little nervous about being able to get home. So.
And why is that?
Because it's possible that there will be a lot of cancellations and delays.
It is frustrating. I feel like there's a more peaceful way to get to, some of the solutions for things. But, it is what it is.
A pro-Israel protester holding an Israel flag was led away by police as tension rose outside Villa Park on Thursday evening ahead of the Europa League fixture between Aston Villa and Israeli soccer club Maccabi Tel Aviv. British police had mounted a large operation with 700 officers to prevent trouble in the city of Birmingham, with Israeli sports teams a focus for pro-Palestinian protests during the Gaza conflict, and Villa initially saying away fans would be barred on police advice. Maccabi reluctantly opted not to accept tickets for visiting supporters. Despite that, pro-Palestinian groups staged protests. West Midlands police said there would be a big police presence in the center of Birmingham, which has a large Muslim population, and around the stadium. Police officers were seen patrolling the area outside the stadium, and a small group of protesters were gathered with pro-Palestinian banners. Last November, more than 60 people were arrested in Amsterdam after clashes around a march between Maccabi and Ajax.
Well, today people are protesting here because our Prime Minister and the Home Secretary are completely out of touch with the community. And in fact, I won't even say out of touch, they've thrown the community under the bus. When our West Midlands police decided on credible intelligence that they will not allow Maccabi Tel Aviv fans to come, the fact that Keir Starmer has doubled down saying that it's anti-Semitic is the direct reason for a protest here. If the fans didn't have come, our people would not have been concerned, but the fact that our Prime Minister continues to put us under the bus is forcing us to come here, and we will continue to do it anyway. When it comes to Palestine, we believe that there is a plausible genocide taking place. We believe that there is favoritism. We can ban Russian fans due to Russian aggression, but we can't ban Israeli fans due to Israeli aggression. It makes no sense.
Phil Foden of Manchester City has been named UEFA Champions League Player of the Week for match day 4 of the 2025-2026 group stage, while Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen of Galatasaray finished second. The results were confirmed by UEFA on its official website on Thursday. Foden scored twice in Manchester City's 4-1 win over Borussia Dortmund, helping Pep Guardiola's side move into the top 8 of the group phase. He also registered 1 key assist, completed 92% of his passes, and created 4 chances in 87 minutes of play. Osimhen became the second Nigerian ever to score a Champions League hat-trick during Galatasaray's 3-0 win at Ajax Amsterdam. He completed the match with 3 goals, 2 shots, 1 target, on target, and 1 key pass, operating at 86 passing accuracy over 90 minutes. Other nominees for the Player of the Week include Club Brugge's Carlos Forbes and Arsenal's Michael Merino. Forbes registered 2 goals and 1 assist after playing 90 minutes in Club Brugge's 3-3 draw with Barcelona. He also created 3 chances with an 88% passing accuracy. Marina finished the week with 2 goals, 2 shots on target, and a 90% passing accuracy after playing 85 minutes of Arsenal's 3-0 win over Slavia Praha. Kunet Wankota has details on the entertainment news.
Relatives of Nollywood actress Regina Daniels from the Ogwashuku community in Delta State have given her estranged husband, Senator Ned Nwoko, a 48-hour ultimatum to accept the bride price paid for her marriage or risk a traditional declaration formally ending the union. The demand was contained in an open letter signed by Favour Awele Obi on behalf of the community, accusing the senator of disregarding local customs and allegedly using his political influence to intimidate members of Regina's family. According to the kinsmen, the tradition allows any woman to end her marriage as long as her family returns the bride price. They allege that multiple attempts to return the payment had been turned down by Nwoko, warning that if he rejects it again, the money would be publicly placed at Ikeleke Quarter, a symbolic act that under Ogwashuku customs signifies the dissolution of the marriage. The letter also condemned the reported arrest of Regina's siblings, describing it as an act of operation. It added that Regina's family is calling for the immediate release of the detained individuals. thousands packed the narrow streets of Oteri St. Mary on Wednesday to witness the tradition of tar barrel rolling. Locals born and raised in the town in Devon carried flaming barrel of tar through crowds as part of centuries-old custom handed down through generations. The town, which has a population of around 8,000, transformed into a festival atmosphere as around 20,000 visitors were estimated to attend by the organizers. Only residents of Oteri St. Mary with family linked to the tradition are permitted to carry the barrel, with those who choose to take part starting as early as age 7. The barrels inside are coated with tar throughout the year before being filled with papers and straw to set them alight. The event started with a children's barrels at 4 p.m. and continued into the night as adults carried increasingly larger barrels until the final biggest barrel at midnight. King Charles presented the 2025 Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering to 7 pioneers of modern machine learning at a ceremony at London's St. James Palace on Wednesday. The $652,000 annual award recognizes engineering innovations that deliver broad benefit of society. The winners were Yeshua Benjo, Geoffrey Hinton, John Hopfield, and Yonli Khan for laying the conceptual groundwork for today's neutral network approach to machine learning. NVIDIA's Jensen Hyun and Bill Daly for building the computing platforms that allow those systems to scale, and Fei-Fei Lee for creating ImageNet, a landmark data set that helped train and test computer vision models. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Hyun called the honor terrific and celebrated being recognized alongside his colleagues. Charles also handed over the 2024 prize in the same ceremony to wind energy scientists Andrew Gerald and Hendrik Stilsdal for advances that helped industrialize high-performance wind turbines. The prize, established to spotlight engineering excellence and inspire future engineers, is awarded annually by an independent foundation. And that's the entertainment news. I'm Queen Nwokonta, Signature TV News.
That's the news this hour. I am Christopher Lele. Thanks for watching.
Why the main market is in chaos. People.
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken it through by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Tigiti Agorom, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
We are local.
The international community is observing why the main market is in chaos. People.
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken it through by default.
are international.
Israeli airstrikes. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Friday, good morning and welcome to Signature Morning on Signature TV. Today is the 7th day of November 2025. Thank you so much for joining us. Lillian, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy
Uche.
Friday.
Yes.
Thank God it's Friday.
Yes, it is Friday.
I know you're already excited and I know you'll tell me, oh, I can't wait for the weekend. But let's look at what happened this week. I mean, a lot of things happened this week, starting from when the U.S. government designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Right. And since then till now, everywhere is just hot.
Uproar from the U.S., the lawmakers making statements, Trump still making statements, the federal government denying it. And
now we're seeing foreign countries like China, EU, ECOWAS, everybody's
back in
just...
Nigeria. Well, the question is, what is in it for all these countries that is coming together? So where does this particular issue leave us? But apart from that, I think Anambra election is coming up tomorrow. So it's been part of our morning show, back-to-back countdown to Anambra election.
Exactly, and we've been having conversations with, different people about it. And, the security that is going to be there tomorrow, I'm just wondering, because, we've read on the headlines, helicopters, drones, 65 or 60,000 security personnel will be on the ground, and, all of that. It's quite a lot, because some people are wondering, what do Anambra State people need all that number of security personnel for? But let's see how tomorrow goes. Hopefully it will be a free and fair and credible election.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We had a lot to discuss this week, and I hope you were part of that discussion. Remember, you can catch up on every conversation you missed by following our social media handles. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha.
And I am Lilian Wali. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now it's time for our newspaper headline and review, and we will start with the Punch newspaper. On the headlines, Trump threats. Tinubu rallies foreign allies as North rejects Sharia ban. FG vows to crush terror networks. NEF ACF rejects U.S. move to outlaw Sharia.
FEC okays biometric flight boarding. PH airport concession. FG rolls out new plans to tackle food shortage.
And Abuja Disco sacks 800 workers amid power crisis. APC, Wike blast PDP over U.S. Embassy protest.
Anambra poll, INEC distributes sensitive material. 55,000 policemen mobilized. Vehicle imports slide 10% on weak consumer spending.
Pretty Mike gets 50 million naira bail for alleged drug offense. Newly inaugurated Tinubu campaign office demolished in Benue.
On the Nigerian Tribune, Tinubu vows defeat of terrorism as U.S. military drafts action plans. Present challenges a passing phase, President says. We have opened diplomatic channel with U.S., says FG. U.S. Congress seeks sanctions on groups, individuals over religious violence. Trump's stance a wake-up call. This is from Dixon on pages 2 and 3.
And on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, we are saying 2027 APC plots control of Northeast. Taraba Governor may defect on November 19. Opens discussion with Adamawa Governor. Economy rebounding, inflation easing, says Finance Minister. FEC approves $396 million loans for IDPs.
Anambra faces first test tomorrow. EU deploys 687 observers. 98.8% PVCs collected for election, says INEC. Obi seeks credible election, kicks against vote buying.
PDP crisis. State party chairman backed the Magum's NWC insists on Ibadan convention. Adeleke not joining ADC, says Ed.
Oyo approves reconstruction of Ido Akufo Eruwa Igboro Kishi roads on page 31.
And on health matters, combining vaping and smoking increases risk of pre-diabetes by 28%, and that's from study.
On the Vanguard newspaper, Page 19, electricity. Operator pushes for gradual transition to cost-reflective tariffs. And on page 14, Anambra Showdown 2025. Anxiety as Soludo, 2 women, 13 others tests might tomorrow.
Alleged Christian genocide. U.S. Congress targets Mieti Allah for visa bans, asset freezes. Nigeria not in panic mode, says FG, says it has opened discussion with U.S. We're going to defeat terrorism, that's from Tinubu, and U.S. military draws up strike plans against Nigeria, outlines heavy, medium, light attacks.
Mba Fubara Abiodun worry over deplorable state of police training college. PDP crisis, Damagum tightens grip as state chairman disown rival leadership.
Economy records strong growth, says Idun, and false declaration of assets tackle backlog of cases, CJ Intel's Tribunal.
FEC approves 43 billion naira for Lagos-Ibadan Highway, East-West Road, others. And on sports, UCL, Osimhen overtakes Haaland, Kane, Mbappe, and Europe's #1 striker.
And on the Daily Trust newspaper, we are seeing 3 teachers attend to 207 pupils in FCT school. 15% tariff. Petrol may cost 1,028 naira per litre and diesel 1,194 naira.
Despite peace deal, bandits killed 2 Katsina community leaders. Chief Imam killed over alleged witchcraft in Kwara.
Cameroon's Paul Biya sworn in for 8th term. Lagos gets new federal varsity amid 7-year ban.
On the Nation newspaper, we have Tinubu, we will defeat terrorism, secure every part of the country. Nigeria engaging constructively, diplomatically to address all genuine concerns.
FEC rolls out approvals. This is on page 2. And 43 billion naira for Lagos-Ibadan Road Phase 2. Maitama 2 District, Judges Residences, and $396 million loans for Northern IDPs. Sokoto Health Project, concession of Port Harcourt International Airport, Presidential Task Force to drive 30 December.
Makinde approves 88 billion naira road project. Nigeria targets 32% emission cut by 2035.
And tariffs, import restrictions, and others for review. New phase of economic reforms underway.
COAS promises soldier first policy on page 4. Finance Minister leads G24 on page 7.
And Forum of State Chairman Bagdemagun, PDP convention called to rule in Lamido Street 2. And that is the much we can take on the newspaper headlines this morning. But for the review, we have Chris Maduka in the studio. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Lucia. Good morning, the people of the world. Thank you for joining us again this morning for another edition of Newspaper Review on Signature TV. You're welcome.
Thank you. Now, on the Punch newspaper, threads, Tinubu rallies foreign allies as North rejects Sharia ban. FG vows to crush terror networks. NFACF rejects U.S. move to outlaw Sharia.
Yes, like I said, sometime when all these issues started, I said something has kicked off something, and we started hearing direct from federal government about their plans to fight terror and bandits in Nigeria. So for good, at least something has made us to made our federal government, and if it's knocking us into a reality, directing our attention to the real issue. And before now, we hardly hear of, what we hear is from federal government, they condemn attacks, and that's all. But now, some active words are coming from federal government on what they're going to do to attack terror and all that. Now, on the issue of Sharia ban, there were people who were saying that a country that is governed by 2 laws, you have penal code governing northern Nigeria, you have criminal law governing southern Nigeria, that we are not, there's no cohesion. And it brings to the fore, when you talk about Nigeria, you said, do you have different laws for different people? Is it not one Nigeria? So when we talk about Nigeria as a one nation, all the laws governing us should be in place. So, and we should use one law to govern everybody, instead of all these separate laws. Why do we have Sharia in the north, and then what law governs the south, and this one nation? Now, we should find a way of doing this. It's not balanced. And when the issue of one religion or one tribe or one group of people being marginalized come up, some people come out and start talking from both sides of their mouth. But this thing has existed with us for 64 years of our independence. And nobody wants to, and these are what the people who are crooked mind are exploiting to do us bad, cause issues. That is it. So when this issue started, our concern as ordinary people, you know, a typical Nigerian do not even care who you are. He just want happiness, freedom to do what he want to do and survive. The Hausas, the Igbos, the Fulanis, the Galas, the Fofodes, the Kanuris, they've all meet together, met, and they've done business together everywhere in Nigeria at the common level. They don't care what religion you profess or what language you speak. We need Nigerian markets and trade. And we know we have our mutual biases. We know the comparative advantage of each other, and we have exploited it. Politicians are the most wicked people in Nigeria that are caused this problem. Instead of solving the problem, they're talking from the same side of their mouth, confuse people for all selfish benefits. And they put the larger number of Nigerians at risk. When the issue of bandits and terror came in, the good people that are professing Islam kept quiet. Now look at where we are. One bad apple brought this to Nigeria. That's why we're just confused. Everybody's talking. And the bad people that exploited these bad issues are now the ones that are winning loudest. Because when they talk about Tinubu threats, Trump threats coming to Tinubu, Nigeria, it is not Tinubu. Nobody is threatening Tinubu. Nobody is threatening Nigeria. The US people said what they are doing to Christians and other people in Nigeria should stop. So if you are involved in what has been happening in Nigeria, you get worried. I don't see why Nigerians should be worried about this. And now, our federal government has come up with plans to work with US to fight terror and bandits. And that's the best news that ever happened to us. Even if it's only that. So, let any man whose hand is soiled be worried. And they should not drag Nigerians into this. Nigerians should know these dangerous people that have been among us benefiting from the blood money, they are the ones who should be worried. If you do not remove okwa, your hands will not be slimy. I keep saying it. If you have not done anything with bitter leaf, your hands will not taste bitter, neither your mouth. Let everybody stoop on their own shit. You shouldn't. Somebody is not shit and I go and stoop on it. Let whatever any man sow, and God is our witness, they will pay. Nigerians have died for too much, and people have turned it into business. They talk from all sides of their mouth about the same people are dying, and the few individuals who have security cocoon themselves in Abuja, talking from both sides of their mouth, confusing us. And the chicken has come to roost. Let's know whose hand is soiled, who has been doing this with us, because it seems these are the same people challenging, causing the administrative issue for the president, and expecting, what does he expect you to do? One monkey carry their children at the back and they're plucking fruit and eating. They say the mother monkey will be swearing. Everybody's calling Tinubu, Tinubu, Tinubu. Why the wicked people who are doing this to us know they know themselves? And their names are, of course, when they're talking about even what is coming, some people say the US has done their research, they have evidences. Look at the virtual video making around in Nigeria WhatsApp environment, ecosystem. You wonder, these are where people are being slaughtered and killed, and we still look for evidence to say there's no genocide. What do you call it? Whether it's genocide, whether it's killing, whether it's farmer headers clash, whether it's land possession grabbing, whatever it is, Nigerians are dying and it has to stop. That is what I'm saying. You don't give it baptismal name to keep killing the same kind of people, the vulnerable Nigerians who are defenseless. And their only crime is because they are Nigerians and they keep dying while the politicians are going away in convoys of heavy armored vehicles.
All right, Chris, let's move on to another topic. Tomorrow is Anambra State election. So we're seeing on the newspapers, on the Punch, Anambra poll, INEC distributes sensitive materials. 55,000 policemen mobilized. On the Nigerian Tribune, we are seeing Amopito faces first test tomorrow. EU deploys 687 observers.
And this is too big logistics for a small Anambra. If you look at Anambra in the map, and look at the number of people that are left in Anambra that are not jackpot, look at the number that are registered, and you are deploying this kind of, why the new word they use, the Jinani Inke beginning, why this West? Who is paying 65,000 policemen allowances? Who are these people? What are they going to Anambra for? How much do we deploy for national election? It's a total waste. 2000 the last election. 2023 election. Nigeria spent 319 billion. I don't know what they're going to spend to run just one Anambra election. Since the history of Anambra election, does Anambra deserve, because you are looking at precedents. What has ever happened in Anambra election that deserve this? What they're doing there? Just play to the gallery. That's all waste. Anambra people, where I come from, are not ready for any violence. They're not ready to die for any fool for political reasons. In fact, they are very confident and hard-working people. If you think you want to be a governor in Anambra, bring your money. At the end of it all, your money will be spent. They still go to the pool and make their choice. You can come out after the election and go to the field and start pursuing them and fight for your money. Since the Anambra people have learned that since any can drop by the bed, flies without perching, they have learned to shoot as hunters without aiming. So you don't come there and say you are buying. Everybody has given a baptismal name. Even the government incumbent have made it incentive instead of saying the apparent vote. And nobody has said anything. INEC has not said anything. And they say Amopito is going. Amopito will face his trial with national election, not Anambra. Anambra has nothing to test Amopito. You should go to where that have the history of fire during elections to test his power. Not Anambra, that is a walkover. In Anambra, before 3 hours, that is even when they come out, because with 65,000 police, you will ask. There's a music that go in Anambra State. They say, Obafa na bi no why, Obafa ka na no. Enolo. When 65,000 policemen are going to man the polls, is it the policemen that will vote, or the Anambra people with less than 2,000 people that have registered, which half of them will not come out to vote? That this 65,000 people with other security agencies, civil defense, army, DSS will get to election. It has become a military thing, and the more you have gun attract gun. That's what my father said. How can I want to go and vote in my polling booth that is less than 1 kilometer away and I will see area of army and police. Is it not better I go and sit down and I will ask myself, the more policemen and with guns and there you find the street, the more you have chances of stray bullet and also. What am I going for? So if they have decided what they go and do, let them. I mean, policemen of 65,000 people, they should have transferred their voters still data to Anambra. 65,000 policemen enough to vote to decide who wins election. After the last election in Anambra, the person who won with less than 200,000 votes. So that will tell you that it's all total waste. And we clearly do this every day and think we are just deceiving Nigerians. Anambra does not deserve this kind of logistic of monumental proportion to organize common governorship election. Who is fighting who?
All right. On the nation's newspaper, we're seeing that FEC rolls out approvals. 43 billion for Lagos Ibadan Road Phase 2 and 396 million loans for Northern IDP's Sokoto Health Project.
Well, that's all good. We don't have much to say there. They can roll out, and that's if the money is deployed to do the job. Because you can see it on the paper. Before you know it, that road will be half abandoned. Nobody will follow up. As the money has been determined and allocated, nobody follows up to the end and said, Obi, you have gone for army. Where is your boot at the end of it all? All this how money has been allocated for projects in Nigeria. We see it in the newspaper, beautiful arrangement. At the end of it all, you don't see any project. You only see abandoned project. The next government come back, start fresh appointment, reviews and the variations on the same contract. You have one road being awarded over time, and you don't see that road completed. You go around Nigeria, what you see are most of times construction sites. Every time Nigerians are under construction, everywhere. You find, take ENUGU to Onitsha. Since the last 30 years, no single lane you can drive in ENUGU to Onitsha for 5 minutes without a diverting block, and that's what they do. So you have, and every year this road is on. So I'm giving you an example of what Nigerians are. Nigerians know they are telling themselves lies every day, and people who are in position of authority manipulate these things because Nigerians will hardly care. They keep you in the dark, so you don't even care what they do. They just be confusing you with figures and figures. Project, everybody will clap. Where are the projects? Where are they? With this amount of money we deploy every day to projects, where are the roads? By now, Nigeria should have been all tarred and we'll be driving safely. Because most of them don't use the roads again. They don't even, because if you award contract and you drive through that road, you ask questions. When you award contract for road and you fly every day, fly to the nearest airport, your convoy come and pick you and drive to your house, you come back to airport and fly back to Abuja. That's the life of a typical Nigerian leader. And that's what they do.
All right, on the Daily Trust, we see despite peace deal, bandits kill 2 Katsina community leaders. And just below that, we see Chief Imam killed over alleged witchcraft in Kwara.
That's in 2025. We're still killing people for witchcraft. Then the overrating of people, the security people who still want. Remember, we are told that the Niger Republic closed their border when this issue of threats come, and people were saying, okay, so whatever is happening, the people will do their last exploits and do. But when the chips are down, the chicken will come to roast. Whatever any man sow, he will reap. Let them go ahead. And then when we say that children were asked, mushroom kill their papa, mushroom kill their mama, mushroom kill their grandfather, mushroom kill their grandmother, and the villagers say, don't eat mushroom again. And they woke up in the morning and found the children crunching mushroom. And they say, what are you holding is mushroom? What killed your papa? Mushroom. What killed your mama? Mushroom. What killed all your generation? Mushroom. And you're still holding mushroom. That is the issue of bandits and terror. They are agents of death. So they want to die with what they are doing, and God will help them. Whatever any man deserves or ask from God, he gets. Since they believe that it's by killing Nigerians that give them happiness, they will also meet their own Waterloo. What else can I say? And the government is doing their best. Then for a man who is a dog, the way you see it, let me even come the other way. A dog that eats the bone that is hung on its neck. How will it be that if a chief religious leader of a Z is a witchcraft by himself? That is for those who know about witchcraft and all, I don't know. But assuming it's true, don't you think that those people have been going to plant seed with squirrel in their barn? That's Nigeria for you. Leadership at all levels have what they call fake and wicked people, even in religious organizations. So let's just go.
All right. We're saying on Daily Trust, before we go, 3 teachers attend to 207 pupils in FCT school.
In FCT, that tells you at least it should be a model. In Federal Capital Territory of Federal Republic of Nigeria, you have an average of 3 teachers attending to 207. Divide 207 by 3. You find the number of pupils in one class with one teacher. Too many pupils for one small teacher who is not even motivated, who probably is teaching, and then he will teach for 1 hour and then use the other one. He bring a goosey, share it to the kids, they will help him peel a goosey, and he bring abada and ankara. He go to sell to teachers and run around, come out, because no teacher in Nigeria faces using teaching as a career again. They are not motivated, and they have this number of pupils in Federal Capital Territory. Just imagine what is happening in my village. Let's use model of Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, where things are, where the National Assembly is located, where the Asorok is located, where all the ministers and all. How many of their children go to these schools? How many of their relations, even 10th generation, go to these schools? So as far as they're concerned, those wretched of the earth children are the ones who suffer this. So it's just a wave of hands. Nobody will talk about it. Nobody will bring it up in National Assembly as an agenda or a bill to include. Nothing. All these ones are just for us to move on.
All right, Chris, it's time. We have to go. Yes.
God bless you for having been with us this morning. Even as we talk about it, God bless you. God bless my grown-up angels. God bless me too. We all should know that God blessing are meant for those who deserve to be blessed at all times.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris, for that newspaper review this morning. And we will be right back.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges, completed and uncompleted projects, bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, No story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
Welcome back. Now, November election, Anambra State's November 8th election, which is tomorrow. We are just less than 24 hours away from that election, and we're still talking about everything that concerns it and the preparations gearing up to tomorrow. Now, joining us this morning via Zoom, we have Comrade Aloysius Atta. He's a journalist and chairman, Civil Liberties Organization, Southeast Zone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Am I
Can you hear me, Mr. Aloysius?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you tell us what you think about the election so far? I mean, there has been a lot of news about this election, the candidates and everything, all the preparations gearing towards the election. What do you think about it?
Well, almost like
Charles, remove your hands.
Okay. We only have find out
So far, how would you assess the candidates, their manifestos and their campaigns compared to the previous elections? Mr. Atta, if you can hear me, we are finding it difficult to hear you. So if you can reassess your network and, reconnect with us, we'll actually appreciate it. But then we'll go on a short break.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges. Completed and uncompleted projects. Bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
Bright and early, as the day breaks, as the newspaper headlines trail the stories that shape the day, we at Signature TV trail the headlines that trail the day. We interrogate the headlines. We analyze the stories that make the headlines.
Why is overrated, and they even overrated themselves, and when you go see it, they are insensitive of some Nigerian children who have never had what they call CBT.
With passion and emotion, we drive the conversation to change a narrative.
Let nobody be deceived by Nigerian high level of performing in agriculture export. We are still where we are.
Newspaper review on Signature TV every morning on Signature Morning, weekdays, and Signature New Day, weekends. Newspaper review on Signature TV. We do not just review the headlines, we make the headlines relevant to our daily lives.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Welcome back. Now, Mr. Aloysius, if you can hear me, you were assessing the previous elections, the candidates, their manifestos and their campaign with the according to the election that will come up tomorrow? Mr. Aloysius, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, please go ahead with what you were saying before.
Yes, I was actually saying that what we are witnessing in Anambra right now is a case of a declining political vibrance, in the sense that people are now disillusioned. The politicians, the actors who are not available for proper scrutiny and interrogation. Because I'm here practicing in Anambra for many years now, and I can tell you that even the APC candidate, I didn't cite his manifesto anyway. The Africa candidate, who is the governor seeking re-election, will always tell us that they are still whining. That can afford is for the innovative. So a kind of telling you that he will do more, he will do more. But even the manifesto he has now used about 4 years now, was not properly interrogated to see how far he has actually followed the outline of that manifesto in delivering dividends of democracy to the people. Yet we descended to the level of name calling, unnecessary quarrel, and interrogating total languages and things like that, trying to demean the other person that the person is not qualified, the person is not this, that. So that vibrancy and scrutiny is lacking. And it's really an issue that makes me worried to that extent.
All right. So if they are not focusing on the manifestos, or like you said they are no longer available for proper scrutiny, where does that leave the electorate? How do they now choose who to vote for?
That is the tragedy. Because the electorates are now left at the pedestrian level of a case of the devil you know may be better than the angel you don't know. And also this degeneration of the system of vote buying also. You still see people interacted with people, and you still see them have that mindset that when they get to the polling unit, they are ready to grab, because what is why they are not to need anything. So they are ready to collect money from as much as the available candidates that are ready to dish out money or dish out cash for votes. But at the end of the day, they know where they are going. Not actually that they are going that way because they believe that this person has something tangible or concrete to do things differently as an A-list state. But in the case of this is how we are, and we have settled for that because we don't have any other option. So it is actually not a very good situation at all. Political development in Anambra State. We are supposed to have outgrown this stage by now, but unfortunately, this is still where we are.
So what would you say is the reason behind this declining political vibrancy, as you put it? You mentioned that even the other candidates are not particularly doing much in terms of their manifesto, and the incumbent governor too, his manifesto has not been put through proper scrutiny. What led to this declining political vibrancy in Anambra State?
There are so many reasons behind that, but you find a situation whereby the incumbent uses power in such a way that he is maximizing that power to a certain extent that he is actually in control, because he controls the town union, he controls market, he controls youth associations, he controls almost every sector and what have you. So in such a way that they are doing these things in such a way that those outside that government, they they don't have any other option. And the people also, instead of realizing that the state resources should be accounted for to the last couple, that we are doing this thing, whatever the level of development we have brought into the state, that you did not use this, do those things out of your personal resources, but actually from the resources of the state. So, and therefore, we expect more from you. But what we have seen also again, surprisingly, is the situation where those communities that are supposed to interrogate this thing end up bringing another or heavy competition of where they contribute money and give to the government, and they are using this money to support you and to make sure you continue what we are doing. And it becomes a bragging right between communities. You know that we gave the government 200 million and you people could not raise 20 million from your own community. So I'm not introducing another dangerous trend into the whole thing that should get every rational thinking person actually worried, as in, where are we going if we continue this way? So, and the other people are like, this man has done these things in such a way that there is no ENUGU for us. They keep just running around the circle, and in the game, already a kind of they have shown signs of defeat already, even before the election is conducted properly.
Mr. Atta, now, what do you think is the demand of the people of Anambra State? What is the demand of the electorate? And since there is little or no manifestos from the candidates, how can we get the electorate to vote for quality or competence rather than being swayed by inducement?
That's my worry, as I keep saying, because you find out I've checked most times different communities across. Instead of presenting chapters of demand to the governor, or whatever, whoever is coming to campaign, it is more of we are going to support you so that you continue your good work. You continue your good work. We know your antecedents. We know you will do this for us and do more. You see, they're not actually holding that government accountable. You see, they're not actually presenting chapter of demand. There are so many challenges in Anambra that when you talk about that the government is building roads, but there are so many roads that are still unattended. There are so many dilapidated facilities across, even infrastructure in the schools and the rest of them. But unfortunately, you don't see communities making this chapter of demand. It is more of a bandwagon of giving unalloyed support. I don't know where we are going under this atmosphere. That is the three situation. I'm not actually across about 175 communities in Anambra. I'm not actually seen any that actually came up with the chapter of demand for the government. It is more of organizing rally. We want you to continue. You are doing well. You are doing bad. No concrete interrogation.
Okay, now earlier on you mentioned the incumbent Governor Soludo and the name calling and his behavior so far during the campaigns, and you also spoke about the unhealthy competition among the candidates, and that he has control of almost everything and almost everywhere. So it's as if the other candidates don't have much to contend with him. But at the same time, you also mentioned that the people of Anambra are not particularly pleased with Soludo and his handling of his manifesto for this first 4 years that he has handled. So what is the balance between that? Where does that leave Soludo? What prospects does he have in this election?
I didn't get what the last thing.
I asked what prospects he has in the election, seeing that on one hand the people seem not to be particularly pleased with Soludo and his handling of his manifesto in the first 4 years, and also his behavior, like you mentioned, the name calling and all the other things that he has done leading up to this election, and the unhealthy competition between him and his fellow candidates. So where does that leave him in the election? Do you think that he is going to make it through as the next governor, or do you think that it's going to be much of a struggle with all of that?
Hello?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That is not all that pleased with the incumbent government is already mooted. What I said is that there is a bandwagon of giving the incumbent governor regular support and even giving him more money instead of interrogating him how he has used the resources in the last 4 years. So, from every indication, there is no display about it. What is going to play out tomorrow? If the opposition didn't come up with any game plan of a systemic rigging, the incumbent is going to carry the day unassailable, because from what we are seeing on the ground already, it is not like a bandwagon of we continue. It's very, very obvious from what we are seeing now. Every other voice that is not pleased is already mooted. It's already in silence and in a very, very lower minority. They doesn't actually count from what I'm seeing now, honestly speaking.
Now you've done a bit of assessment on Charles Soludo. Now let's take a look at Nicholas Ukachukwu of APC and the Labour Party's George Moralo. From your assessment, do you think that the both parties, APC and Labour Party, actually has a realistic part in, unseating the incumbent party?
Well, if you follow the trend, what I've seen so far, I must be realistic. I discovered that the bulk of the people that follow the APC candidate are following him that he's ready to drop something. They want to make capital gains out of his governorship ambition. Not actually that they are really working for him to deliver him on the election day. That is the truth of the matter. I've interrogated, I've been around, I see them, they call us for press briefing and the rest of them, they move around. Some of the people around him, they are just in a competition to grab as much as possible for their own personal gain. Not actually that they are working for him to become the governor. And if you look at what's going on also, it seems to be the reality. So, but sometimes you see them bragging and he's already taken, Abuja has spoken, blah, 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 things like that. So, we're actually going to see how it pans out tomorrow. But from the benefit of hindsight and what I've seen so far. And then, in the midst of all these things, our people in Anambra here, they still have a lot of reservations about that party, APC. I don't know why. Likewise, the candidate also, so many reservations. So, I wonder how it's going to translate for victory for him tomorrow. But that is all, they may have their game plan, we see. For the Labour Party also, the candidate, from his persona, I have not seen anybody giving him a kind of a negative package. So, but you still find out that the clouds to make it to govern Anambra across the local governments and polling units and the rest of them, and what I've seen so far, what they have done, I don't think they can make it. However, also, the Labour Party candidate is from Lewi, and another candidate of ADC, is also from Newi. Both of them are even going to divide votes among themselves. And at the end of the day, it's a kind of both of us. Okay, we have struggled, but we end up, nobody makes it at the end of the day. So, the only chances is that the incumbent has so many edge over every other candidate.
All right. Now, moving away from the candidates, let's look at INEC and the role that they will play in this election. There is a new INEC chair, Amopiton, and he is to use this Anambra State election as a litmus test, for his first official assignment. So, what do you think about all of that and, the role that INEC has to play in the elections?
I can't hear you.
Mr. Atta, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Atta?
Yes, I can hear now.
Now, I asked about INEC and the role that INEC will play in this election, seeing that the new INEC chair, Amopiton, is to use this election as his first test tomorrow. So how do you see that looking like? What do you see the INEC doing for this election?
Okay. Well, we have to give the benefit of that to the new INEC chairman. I've seen a kind of sincerity in his words. Even the REC in charge of Anambra, I've also seen a kind of sincerity in her words too. But in reality, on election day, it is not always like that. Because sometimes I find out that the INEC chairman or the resident electoral commissioner is not everywhere. Most of the things that happen in the field, they are not aware. You find out that across different polling units, the presiding officer, some of the ad hoc staff and the rest of them, what we see is a situation whereby when they go to the field, they become automatic members of a particular political party that is projected to lead the day. Whereby you see them collude with some of these party people, or they just relax and turn their blind eye to the activities, clandestine activities of these political parties and their agents. So, a situation where the INEC officials will be sitting idly their table and allow vote buying to go on seamlessly, and allow people also to vote and show who they are voting for. And at the end of the day, they also operate in allocating figures. So the INEC chairman is not there. The REC is not there. But when these things happen across different polling units, you see that the results will be a predetermined result already. So while we can say that the new headsman is prepared to do things right, he cannot change the pendulum if those at the field decide to do otherwise, and if it becomes a coordinated effort, systemic. That is how what we have been seeing across board.
Thank you for joining us in the studio this morning and for giving us the election update in Anambra State.
Thank you, you're welcome.
All right, now we round up that conversation on Anambra decides November 8th for the election, and that is where we end that countdown. And stay with us, we'll be right back. After now, Signature Morning continues.
Bright and early as the day breaks, as the newspaper headlines trail the stories that shape the day. We at Signature TV trail the headlines that trail the day. We interrogate the headlines. We analyze the stories that make the headlines.
Wayek is overrated, and they even overrated themselves and went into CBT. They are insensitive of some Nigerian children who have never had what we call CBT.
With passion and emotion, we drive the conversation to change a narrative.
Let nobody be deceived by Nigerian high level of performing in agriculture export. We are still where we are.
Newspaper review on Signature TV every morning on Signature Morning, weekdays, and Signature New Day, weekends. Newspaper review on Signature TV. We do not just review the headlines, we make the headlines relevant to our daily lives.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them, at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with the diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Tigiti Agorum, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The United States designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern has been a subject of discourse in, the recent week. Now we'll be having that conversation with Dr. Joachim Ezeji. He's the CEO, Gulf of Guinea Risk and Resilience Institute. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
Now, what do you think about this U.S. designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern? What are your thoughts on this issue?
It's good you asked me this question, and I can tell you without missing words that it's a call for better governance, not good governance anymore, because I would think we have overused the term good governance, and the meaning appears to be lost. So I think it's a wake-up call on the government of Nigeria, the federal government in particular, to improve governance in Nigeria and up their games on security. When the American government is telling you stem the tide of killings of Christians, it means there have been little or no action. There have not been commensurate response, either preventive on the part of government to stem the tide. So, and the world have been watching. They have been seeing everything that has been happening and how governments keep treating terrorists with kid gloves. So it is a call, do this, but people appear to misunderstand it. And when you listen to some people, it seems to give the impression that this is planned. It's a conspiracy by certain forces in the country to do otherwise. So governments should not feel that they have a threat from America. America is asking you to improve governance because our constitution is very clear that security of lives and properties is the primary role of government, because on it, every other thing stands. Without peace and security, you cannot be able to run your economy. People cannot be able, communities cannot coexist, and nothing else can stand. Food education, call it whatever. So it's a wake-up call. I see it primarily as a wake-up call, and it's important government sees it that way and not the other way.
All right. So what would you say is the general implication of this sanction when you look at Nigeria from a global perspective?
One, it's a reputational damage to the government of Nigeria, especially the president, because this president came in with a Muslim ticket. So that was suspect from the beginning. Though these killings did not start today, they started long ago. Even our greatest nightmare was the immediate past president Buhari, but Buhari did not take some of the risks. He didn't take extreme actions like we see now. If the Muslim ticket should not even have been allowed to go into that election, talking for winning it. Because when you see, our constitution was very clear. It's very clear that Nigeria is a secular state. It's a secular state. There must be balance. You can't come and, because of political experience, you want to win the election by all means, you throw a Muslim ticket at us. The Electoral Commission, I don't know if they have the powers, even if they don't have, he himself should be sensible enough to know that he will have a reputation. But the president really doesn't care about his reputation. He really doesn't care about governance. A lot of things happen. If you look at a lot of allegations have been made against key people in government, and what you get is an official weakness. Nobody is talking. Government president is not talking. This couldn't have happened during Obasanjo's time. Obasanjo got rid of a lot of top government officials based on allegations, and which are investigated. Now you say this one has bought properties in America here, and the government just keeps quiet. You now make this allegation, this happened here, the president just keep quiet. Now talking about Christian killings. And as a Nigerian who has been in this country, I do not see the actions the government. I have not seen the actions the government have taken. So the implication, when you talk about the implication is that you can look at it from three different scenarios. There can be an optimistic, one is optimistic, the other one is moderate, and the last one is worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario means, you see how Nigerians are trying to talk back at the US, Nigerians, I didn't say the Nigerian government. The Nigerian government have been a bit more measured in their approach. People who have access to the press and who are also suspects, who have some level of relationship, like you see Sheikh Gumi, they keep talking and talking openly. The world is very open. This is the time for the federal government to caution all these people who are making all these unwarranted comments against the US, because the US have more intelligence. They have information that we may not have. Even if we have it, we don't know how to use it. The advice, I would see it more as an advisory. The government, Trump says, if you fail to stem the tide of killing of Christians in Nigeria, and now people are coming up with different narratives. The US want to take Nigerian mineral. The US want to stop China. US want to get rid of Tinubu because he funded Kamala Harris election. Those things are not necessary. Those are not the issues. Address the issues. And it's this cacophony of voices that are making this country not to grow. We can't do well when we have all this. We should use matured intelligence to look at this, interrogate it, and do a very good analysis and have a measured response to the government, because this have a ripple effect on our policy, diplomacy, local governance, and civil society. So, but the scenarios I'm talking about, when you look at the three different scenarios, the worst case scenario is that the Pentagon or the Department or the Ministry of War, as Trump said, will be fully unleashed if what is happening now continues to go on. But if government comes in with some reforms, decide to improve, to diffuse tension via diplomatic and governance reforms, you see that this will change. You know, you look at all the military and you look at bring in reforms, and you track their responses, how these things are going on. Then the moderate is when this when you have some measure, everybody comes down, look, and then looks at it as his own position and see how things can work better. You get your best diplomats to talk, to link up with the Department of State, and they look at it, and you don't go there to argue or go there and show that you are Nigeria. When you know that Nigeria does not have that laudable standing positioning in the world. Well, we can say we play some football. We can say we have oil and gas. Beyond that, what else do we have that makes us a superpower? We are not a superpower. So we cannot even afford to go into a Disney park, verbal or physical, with the US. So we have to come back, because this is a call. Govern properly. We have been talking about bad governance in Nigeria. There's so much corruption. The government is not talking about it. ENCC will see those who are doing a lot of bad things, corruption. They will not do anything because those people are in government. President, it doesn't concern him. He's just on his own. He will just wake up and tell us he's traveling, and he will travel. People have been talking about the electoral reforms. The president is unconcerned, and we are going into an election. So these are the things. If it's gotten to a point that you have subdued all of us in Nigeria, and we can no longer, you have decided not to hear what we say, then a superpower is calling your attention, but they need to do this one. So do it. Because it's not the implication of, if this situation is allowed to escalate, the ripple effect will be too much. We don't even know how it's going to end. So it's not a bad thing to want the government of Nigeria to improve governance in Nigeria, especially in the areas of governance. We saw the bishop from Benue State who went to the US Congress. He was there. I expected the government Because that thing was that thing happened in 2004 to 2024. You have had a meeting. You call the man or call the people involved in Benue. Have a meeting. When the president went to Benue, what came out of it? Nothing. They turned it into a political circus. All leaders are talking. Yes, Christian, Muslim deaths. People keep saying, "Oh, equal number of they are killing both." That is not the issue. That's not the narrative. The issue is what is government doing? Even Muslims are killed. What did the government do? No Christians are killed. What did the government do?
Now, Dr. Ezeji, now you've made mention that the point is for the government to improve their governance or asking for a better government in the country. But some people also are opposing the sanctions that the U.S. is that has threatened on Nigeria, such as the aid cuts and the military intervention. We're seeing some countries like China, the EU, and ECOWAS saying that the U.S. has no right to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. The Nigerian government is also saying that Nigeria is a sovereign country and, you know, such interference is not going to be accepted. So I want you to speak on that as well.
No, Nigeria is a sovereign country, does not immune Nigeria from coming to kill everybody in Nigeria. Nigeria is a sovereign country. There are minimum requirements. There are minimum governance requirements that are needed. You can't turn Nigeria to a killing field and the world will watch you and say you are sovereign. It doesn't work that way. Sovereignty is an opportunity for you to govern your people in a way that meets minimum standards of good governance. So people who are saying that are not at home with the truth. So when you talk about China is making an opinion. China is making an opinion. ECOWAS or whatever is making an opinion, but not the issues. And we need a bull. We need somebody in the status of the U.S. to talk to Nigeria, because there's a lot of when you talk a country, when you talk about Nigeria as a country of a country of particular concern, that's between the diplomatic relations between Nigeria and the U.S. The U.S. is telling you that your relationship with them is giving them some concern, particular concern, is giving them some concern in key areas, in certain areas. And the most elaborate there is security. And when you see the population of Nigeria, if we have an implosion in Nigeria now, nobody will be talking about the sovereignty of Nigeria. Nigerians will cross borders. We flood into Cameroon, we flood into Benin, we flood all around. The world will feel it. West Africa will be consumed by what happens in Nigeria. So when you talk about Nigerian sovereignty Trump is not telling, Trump is telling you governance. He's giving you time. Governance. And you're saying he shouldn't tell you that. Who says that? The world is a small village. Nobody sees what happens in the other space. So people who are pushing these narratives are people who have an agenda. Let me tell you, there's an agenda of Islamization in Nigeria, and it keeps creeping in gradually. Christians are killed. The president has no official the presidency or the government have no official response to that. It has now become commonplace. People will tell you Muslims, how many Muslims are killed. Yes. See, when you have a mapping of killings in Nigeria, yes, killings are everywhere. And you see there are different groups doing the killing. There are the rogue terrorists who are killing, but there are people also who kill and acquire and take over communities. And the government to allow them to stay there. The bishop that was speaking at the Congress said all these things. And no official response happened. Government kept quiet. They think it's business as usual. I'm not talking about sovereignty. People travel, people are invited across to talk and discuss their country. Why do you go? Isolate yourself. Be in a silos. When you talk about sovereignty, there are people in your country who are wounded, who are voiceless, who are very poor, who cannot raise a hand, and they are the ones being vanquished. The world is coming to their rescue. They will get help. So that's not what is sovereignty. Because some people want to islamize the country, they go back to the country, let's get rid of the middle belt, then we'll get into the southeast, then we'll get to the Niger Delta, and we'll be watching. We'll be watching because Nigeria is sovereignty. Which nonsense sovereignty? The government have to sit up. If they're a sovereign nation, have to sit up. Your citizens have a right. Let Nigerians decide whether they want to be in this sovereign or not. You deny Nigerians of the right to discuss the so-called country that is the sovereign nation, and then you refuse to give them good governance. And then when the world say, give them good governance, you say, we are a sovereign nation. It's not the right way to go.
All right. Now, another part of the sanctions that we would like to look out for is the aftermath of all of this. Now, in the headlines today, we saw that there have been asset freezes, visa bans, and we saw that the U.S. is drawing up strike plans with heavy and medium, according to them, light attacks that will be carried out in Nigeria. And given U.S. history and interference with other countries, and if you look at what happened with Gaza, Israel, Iran, Iraq, so with all of that interference, do you think that the U.S. is bluffing, or do you think that if Nigeria does not come to an extent of doing something, do you think that all of this threat will be carried out? And if it is carried out, where does that leave Nigeria? What do you think will be the response of Nigeria?
See, if Nigeria allows the situation to get out of hand, the ball is in the court of Nigeria. Trump did not wake up and fly drones or get the military war plans into Nigeria. So he has called the attention to something maybe you are ignoring or are getting erroneous feedback from your generals or people who should talk to the president. So it's an opportunity for you, for the president, the government of Nigeria, to do some introspection and see where we can have improvements. It can be more religious tolerance in those communities. Restore all communities in Plateau and Benue State where people have been chased out. Make serious effort to return IDPs to their homes. Because this thing is getting, yes, America might have oversimplified the situation in Nigeria by talking about Christian killing. But there is Christian killing. We should even have data in numbers of the number of people killed. But America, I believe, you have that. And the government would not. We see in social media all the time, we see pictures of people being buried, mass grave, people, leaders, religious leaders, Christian leaders from those regions, like Plateau and Benue State, talking about what is happening. The bishop even talks about number of churches that have been burnt and closed down, all the burials they did. Government there's no official government to all those things. They have not responded. And then you are talking about sovereignty. That time out is in the court of Nigeria, is to not to get this to further degenerate. Anything you get, you take. Because it may get to a point where there may be a plebiscite, there may be need to have to say, okay, to move forward, let Nigerians come and decide if they want to still coexist in this country with their persecutors. It can get to that point. The world will interfere. Since we are proving incapable of managing affairs, when you maybe talk of the likes of Nnamdi Kanu, what they have not been able to achieve, government may be giving it to them on a platter. Because when it interferes, a lot of groups will come in, international groups will come in, to, okay, let's help to resolve this. Since government is proving incapable. Because when government is unable to govern and use the authority it has to govern properly, that means it's lawlessness. People are killing people. There are no repercussions. There are no repercussions. They are not being punished. They are not being arrested. Government, you not see anything happening. So you allow the wounded to mourn his own sorrows. So the consequence is that Nigeria Nigeria knows what to do. You know, in my place, they said you don't ask an adult to get out of the sun. When the sun is on, you decide whether you want to stand there or you stay there. Nobody asks you to leave the sun. So the federal government knows what to do. Unfortunately, we seem to have in the government people who are extremists, who feel the country should be fully Islamized. There are people who feel that way. That is trying to steal the country from the back. If you want to Islamize the country, have a plebiscite, call everybody, let's have a national what do you call it? A national gathering and or constitutional assembly, whatever I call it. People gather together and they decide whether they want to continue to remain in this country with the terms, with the way it is being governed. You have a constitution. The constitution is the ground. It's supposed to guide us. It's the guidelines for us on how the constitution is being flouted. It's being abused on a daily basis. And nobody talks. Even when you go to the courts to get some remedies, the court ignores you. They ignore you. They give perverse judgments. And they are forcing everybody to remain here. Who refuse to be here?
Now, Dr. Ezeji, you've made mention a couple of times about the Islamization of the country. And you also mentioned that when this issue of Christian killings or Christian genocide came up, there had been responses saying it's not just Christians, Muslims as well. So I want to ask you, looking at this idea of Islamization, why does it seem that it's only the Christians that are coming out to speak on the killings of their own as opposed to the Muslims if they as well are being killed? And this morning on the headlines, we see that Tinubu is rallying foreign allies because the North is rejecting the Sharia ban and the US move to outlaw the Sharia. So do you think this is all part of this issue of Islamization? Can you talk about that too?
Islamization is real. Islamization is real. Some people, it's not yet an official government policy, but there are people who are within the corridors of power and who are the people who appear to be the people who the government looks up to, that influence government opinion. So there are people there who believe this country that people who are not part of Islam should become Islam, or they should even stop getting rights, minimum rights in Nigeria. Because we were a secular state, and now the president decided to run a Muslim ticket. The other ticket, you take your own. Buhari was a Muslim. He just finished. So we are in it's a association of people from one religion ruling the country. Who tells you that it will stop in the next dispensation? Because you see, the Christians are always very, very calm. They take things easy. When somebody is calm and easy, give him his right. You give him his privilege. You don't just rough shoulder him. You just behave as if he doesn't matter anymore. When El-Rufai tried the Muslim ticket in Kaduna, people were watching him, and now he came to national. People said it would never happen at national. Even Buhari could not even do it. Now we felt we had the worst of Buhari. But now Tinubu is coming to show us that we didn't even know him. And I'm going to tell you, how can a president who is a Muslim have a Christian wife behave that way? But we have seen it. We see the disease of governance. So it's a call. The Americans are welcome to comment on Nigeria and to direct Nigeria accordingly. Since Nigeria has made itself so impenetrable by public opinion in Nigeria, comments by Nigeria are ignored. Nothing happens. So when you see all those things you talk about, They are all the same. Anything that breeds doubt on the mind of citizens, you manage it.
All right, Dr. Joachim, we want to thank you very much. Dr. Joachim, if you can hear me, we want to say a very big thank you for joining us in the studio and for giving your opinion on U.S. sanction of Nigeria and all the matters surrounding it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it's a wrap on that conversation. Now we'll go on a short break. When we return, Signature Morning continues.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges, completed and uncompleted projects, bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem.
There's no outstanding gratuity when Obi took over from me. I left, in all the accounts of Anambra State, 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
In what many see as a growing political trend, more governors and key political figures have continued to defect to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. The last to decamp was Bayelsa State helmsman Doye Diri, following Peter Mba of ENUGU State, while Taraba State Governor Akpo Kefas is on the wings to say goodbye to the PDP. The recent defections have shifted the political landscape, tilting power heavily toward the APC, which supporters argued strengthens governance by uniting interests under one umbrella. But critics warn it could weaken opposition voices, reduce checks and balances, and edge the country closer to a one-party system and eventually stifle democratic competition and accountability. A security expert and public affairs analyst, Jackson Lekon Oju, condemned in strong terms the massive defections to APC, which he described as unfortunate and capable of taking the nation to a state of anarchy if not checked. Ojo said that democracy is not about the politically privileged few, but about the masses, saying the defections have demonstrated the level of greed and lack of respect for the party that brought such people to power.
Number one thing is because these people are not principled. The people that are the campaign, they are not principled. Number two, they don't have respect for those people that has elected them into office. Number three is the issue of corruption. Possibly the ruling party is kind of flashing at them their corrupt document. And the only way they can be forgiven whatever offense you commit, that immediately you join the APC, your sin will be forgiven.
He also decried the threat by some governors against those who fail to decamp along with them, which he said is a denial of their fundamental human rights and breach of the Constitution.
Why is it threat? If you are no longer comfortable and I'm comfortable, why not let us work together? Because the state belongs to all of us. So all these things, they are kind of threat to democratic principles. And when people no longer have trust in democracy, what do you think people will do? Then people will take to self-help, and self-help will never be positive anywhere in the world.
National President, South-South Youth Initiative, and a political affairs analyst, Imiabe Victor Oscar, also warned against a drift to
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Welcome back. Now, the question of Igbo identity has remained a continuous dialogue, one which will continue this morning with Professor Chidozie Chukwokolo, a development philosopher and Vice President, Ali Igbo Development Foundation. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and God bless you, my viewers.
Good morning.
Now, in your view, what would you describe as Igbo identity?
That's a very wonderful question. By the way, the Igbo people are autochthonous, and as it were, we are the Aboriginal people, the first that came to Nigeria. But our history is checkered, and as a result, there is even the need at all for the question. Because if we didn't have a checkered history, there would be no need for the question of what do I feel is the Igbo identity. But let me start from our history. We're a group of people that have lived longer than any other person. In fact, some of our research findings are showing that the Igbo are the first people in this planet Earth. And they are documented. They are not just mere discussions. So all the things, the Big Bang theory, the evolutionary theory and all these things, we have those things recorded in our oral tradition. And now people are engaging on those things to understand, why we have this claim. But by the time Britain, well, first of all, the first people who came here were the Portuguese. By the time they came to this place, they were able to, we interacted with them, there was no problem. We were doing trade and all these things. Even the agreement that these people signed, the British people, it was purely that they are going to do trade with us. All of a sudden, there was invasion. So that invasion now uprooted us, such that a lot of our territories got compromised, and the question of who is an Igbo really set up. Otherwise, before 1914, we had no problem. The Opobo people, the people from Aniomo, even some of our brothers in Cross River, Benue, and Kogi, even up to today, they still identify as Igbo. But immediately that war came, not war at all anyway, the genocide against the Igbo, Operation Kill Everything Igbo. When it came, it became so clear that people had to deny their identity in order to survive. And I don't blame them. They needed to survive. Take, for instance, the Igbo people. General Bomudia was in the Supreme Military Council. And when he had the plans of what they wanted to do to Igbo, he went back and told his people, we have to remove Igbo from our name so that we will not be killed. And that was how Bomudia came back, and their people changed to Ibanke. And you can see gradually they started changing it. But everything Igbo is there. So the question now, as a rider to what you have said, what are those things that will identify who an Igbo is? And that's part of the reason why a lot of our Christian folks are claiming that we are descendants of God, you know, which is a far cry from what research has shown. In fact, as a person, I was privileged to be part of the arrangement made by the late legendary Dr. Dozie Ikedife when he got some white people who came to Nnewi for DNA tests. Are Igbos and the Jews, are we the same? Are we related in any way? So he called me. When I came, he said, well, these people are here. I said, Ikenga, I'm not giving my DNA sample because these people are Ashkenazi Jews. They are no longer aboriginal Jews. So they can't be a relation if there is any reason that we have relationship. And I believe we do. But we are the other brothers. And I have my facts. So the question now becomes, what are those things that you have to be an Igbo? Part of it is, one, there are some principles, traditional principles that are embedded in us. For instance, our New Year festival. If you read their Bible also, that's part of the reason why people are saying we are related. When you read their Bible, you see that they have their festivals that help. I was privileged also to attend the last Ofala of Ubi Nemeka Abogidi, and one could see the respect, the Igbo man, how we have evolved very far into embedding our tradition of thanksgiving to our ancestors, to our gods, and to the supreme deity that created us. So that's one. There are some others like some of the spiritual principles. Those days, a woman who is observing her period cannot get into the barn. He won't even cook for your husband if the husband is not because there is anything negative about it. No. If you read their Bible, you will see how the Bible also did its best to put it as part of their destiny. So there are so many of such things in Igbo tradition. You see, when an Igbo man, we never met with the Jews, but by the 80th day, a boy will be circumcised when they are given birth to. So there are lots of those things that they saw and say, oh, we are related with these people. And these are the principles, cardinal things that will make you an Igbo. It's not that you are answering an Igbo name. The Igbo man also doesn't believe in killing anybody. No, we don't. And that's why when the Igbo people came here, I remember when they humiliated the then Ezra Obalike in 1912. Ezra Obalike was a half man, half God in terms of influence and powers in the Igbo tradition. He had a lot of influence, he had a lot of things he could do to the white man, basically. I proud myself about my Igbo. I mean, there's a pride I have about my Igbo ancestry, because we are a people that do not believe in shedding blood. And it is fundamental. That's why when you see any Igbo man that started doing that kind of thing, our people will be like, where is he from? Maybe he has a mixed blood. He's not Igbo. So when they did that to Eze Obarike, he looked at them and said, he thought that these people were on a mission that they would just stay a little while and go. He said, well, he spoke in Igbo. I had a boom mother. I am up with I again. Manijuno Bije Orogana Ogaragana. And he didn't know that these people were cantankerous. When their Bible said the devil has come to kill, destroy, and one other one is to steal. Exactly the Europeans. That's the most important thing that described them. And that was what they came here to do. So, and unfortunately, they didn't do anything to them. But that was how they took over. So what I'm trying to say is that when you see a people who have these high-level values, you cannot look at Thurston Shaw when he came, when Professor Kenneth Onwukadike, as the then Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, invited him to come and do some archaeological research findings about ENUGU. If we had been people who kill people or do those type of rituals and all this, the excavations they made, they would have seen those things. What did they see? They saw a lot of things that showed our industry that we had even related with, because some of the beads they saw there in the excavation, they saw similar things in Egypt. So how did these people go to Egypt? There must be a trade link and all those things. So they saw all those things in the chamber that they did the excavation. So the Igbo man has been there and has a lot of these things. And can I shock you? There is nobody. I am on live program. I want any other person to go and prove or disprove me. The Igbo DNA is the oldest that has been found out now. The Igbo, if you go to the iron smelting, I read this man's work, Jared Diamond. He wrote that the 3 factors that changed the world was gun, oil. He said gun, oil, and steel. No, gun, gold, and steel, something like that. And with the writer that these are the forces that changed human civilization. And there is no evidence that there was any place that iron smelting technology started before Igbo land. And they used their own technology of carbon dating to do that. So it's not like the Igbo man did it himself. They did, and they found out that when they didn't have all these things, we were already doing our iron smelting this thing. So finally, part of the things that identifies an Igbo, so that we go, part of the things that identifies the Igbo man is his industry, Ikenga. Because our people will want you to, what is it that you are doing? Those days, if you come home with money and they don't understand the source of that money, you are not working, suddenly you have money. No, the Igbo man will jettison you. So they lay the emphasis. That's why we used to see in every Igbo man's house, you see the Ikenga, a symbol of rectitude and strength. You don't just get wealth for the sake of it. No, you don't. So that's the Igbo man. That's who we are. So it is not this time that we have developed what Achabe had called the cargo cult mentality, where somebody will say his house and they will expect money to jump from heaven to him. The Igbo man manna never came to this place. We don't believe in manna. You must work hard. So these are the principles that the Igbo man must do to be Igbo.
All right. Now you've been talking about the Igbo before And you also made mention of the things or the principles that will identify who an Igbo is. So, looking at the core values, do you think that the Igbos currently are still living by those core values and the principles that you mentioned, comparing the Igbo before and the Igbo now?
Well, I have to be frank with you. You know, it's a normal thing that when you have intercultural exchanges, tendencies are there for people to start learning those things that not how do I put it, that are easy. You don't, because these are principles are very sacred, and people were bound by the thing. But when you see something that is this thing, you see that people have the tendencies of drifting. However, there are some few people, and that's what people like us are talking about in Igbo Renaissance, that we must be who we are. We must be who we are. The level of materialism that has come up now is on Igbo. That's not what we used to do. The Igbo man is not this materialistic. But you see, this is where we are now. And there's nothing anybody can do except this cultural revival and renaissance. And unfortunately too, when we had contact with the West and religion came, of course you know, the idea of spirituality came. Christian religion started priding itself as superior to the Igbo traditional religion. And unfortunately, that is where we are. And some of the adherents of the Igbo traditional religion are also not helping matters, because they have gotten to a level of materialism that is too bad for the core values of Igbo. So somebody, I can tell you that there's a lot of drift in the core values. But over and above that, we are still trying to do our best to ensure that we keep to those core values that make one an Igbo.
Right, now just to get you to expand further on this, because earlier on you spoke about that the Igbos were fine before 1914 when we had the Portuguese and then the British, Europeans generally coming to our country and influence our Igbo tradition. So I want to ask, decades after we would say that as a country we are independent of the European, colonialism. But how would you say that point in our lives as Nigerians, how would you say that shaped or reshaped Igbo identity and how Igbos see themselves and their way of life in Nigeria?
First of all, the Portuguese people didn't come in 1914 or those things. Even Britain didn't come by that period. The British people came here. If you know your history, you know that there was what they called the Anglo-Arab War.
I said before 1914.
No, I want to make that one look clearer, because we need to understand the sequence. I think it was even in 17-something that the Portuguese came, and they had business deals here. There was no problem. It was when guns were discovered. Oh yeah, I was talking about that Gary book. Gary was talking about gun, gems, and steel as the factors. So when the Igbo people discovered guns, I mean especially Europeans that didn't start it, they didn't have this, but when they saw that guns could kill people, you can use it to conquer others. Their value system was not of conquest, so they came to conquer us. And so when they came, it was their business was conquest, and they did even ideologically, because the worst was that ideological conquest, where you can see somebody, I don't know whether you have ever seen, you will see somebody who is sick, and terminally too, and they will tell him, oh, take this herb, you can be cured if you take it. He said, no, I'd rather die than take the devil's herb that God created and gave knowledge about it. So that level of decay was part of, you can see how the thing has messed up our identity. That's one. Two, after the main point of our challenge was during that period of genocide and post-genocide, The Igbo man was in his golden place before 1967. From 1967 to 1970, when the attempt at killing us at that genocide didn't work, there was other ways that we started suffering. And that's where the question of our identity came. Who are the Igbo again? The Igbo persons started seeing all kinds of, challenges in terms of their identity. However, when you are talking of independence, I doubt whether we are as independent as we claim, because there are so many things that our people don't take decisions of. Look at what is going on now, the way we are looking at that America says they will no longer allow terrorists kill Christians in Nigeria. If you are talking about level of independence, we can be internationally recognized as a sovereign nation. No other sovereign nation will. Can you go to America to discuss that way about them? But these checks and balances are very important, because if we don't have such things, some of our leaders here will be doing all sorts of things that nobody can ever imagine. So I don't think we have that level of independence. We only have full flag independence. But in terms of certain operations, we don't have it. And so when somebody lays foundation, a certain level of foundation, about ideological foundation, you will see that look at now, if you have a child and from childhood you put certain values. When I was doing my youth service, I saw a lot of very good, I served in the north, I saw a lot of very good Muslims. But I was asking myself, so I am a Christian because I was born into a Christian environment and the ideology infused in me. The Muslim was born a Muslim, the ideology infused in such a Muslim from childhood. So you can see that once you're able to put that in at the foundational level, it will be difficult to erase. That is the challenge we're having now. But with proper information and knowledge, you will see that over the period, we'll be able to reclaim those our high, long-tested values that make us Igbo.
All right. Now, do you think that the Igbo nation has an agenda currently? Because this is a modern era, and some will say that we are not united, and some don't even have an agenda, and since we cannot exist independently, that there is no unity. So with that, do you think that we have a common agenda?
Who has a common agenda in Nigeria? The Igbo man is the most united person or people in Nigeria. The only problem that we have is our leadership. But below the leadership, down to the seams of us, we're so united. And so when people say those things, I laugh, because these are the kind of things that they tell you in order to divide you more. We are not as divided as they are claiming. The only problem we have is that our politicians are not. Our politicians don't understand us, and I don't blame politicians. What politicians do is that all the time they just come to win elections. And so whatever that can help them to win elections are what they do. But in terms of agenda, anybody who is saying we are not united don't know the Igbo. The way the Igbo man does, and the Igbo man has his leaders. But our own challenges of our egalitarian nature, what normally happens is that we do our things and people keep going on until, if for any reason you have existential threat and challenges, a leader will emerge. That's how we have been doing. In 1927, I think so, I hope I'm correct, when Nnamdi Azikiwe came back from US after training, and he lived some few months in Ghana and came back when he formed the West African Pilot, and he came back here. He saw that we faced existential threat, and he mobilized to the extent that he was a god, a demigod at the point, such that if you want to say anything that is serious, you will say that Zeke said it. But you see, after independence, and we have our challenge again when the pogrom started in the north and the genocide, and Ojukwu emerged. And this is how the Igbo man has always gone. So those who say all these things don't understand that, and that's why the challenge we keep staying or being that way, because the West, who have tried to understand us, especially Europeans, they can't understand us. I can shock you by revealing to you that anthropology was set up in order to understand the Igbo. Have they been able to succeed? They have not. Just for the university. That's how the course anthropology started. Have they been able to understand us? They have not. And that's the challenge we have. When somebody comes, he looks at the kind of leadership we have in some parts of Nigeria, monarchical structure, and that person comes up to say, this is how it should be. He would think the Igbo people are like that. You can't. So, for me, we organize and we have our agenda. And that's so. If we don't have those who are saying we don't have agenda, if we don't have agenda, why are those people always saying you can't trust the Igbo man to give him power? If you give him power, he will secede. Even though secession is not our agenda, but